Leave, dance and be free. Jump in, jump in. Da, da, da. There is peace, there is joy, there are pleasures evermore at the river. At the river. You'll find love, you'll find grace when we come to see His face. At the river. Trust and believe. Trust and believe. Dance and be free. Dance and be free. Jump in. Trust and believe. Dance and be free. Jump in. Jump in. Bring your worries, bring your cares. You can leave your burdens there at the river. Get what you need. Trade your sorrows and your pain. There is freedom in His name at the river. Trust and believe. Dance and be free. Trust and believe. Dance and be free. You can be free. Jump in. The water's troubled. All you gotta do is step in, jump in, dive in. It's safe. The river, just jump in. You gotta jump in. The river, just jump in. Whatever you need, just jump in. The river, just jump in. If you need peace, river, just jump in. The river, just jump in. If you need your heart fixed, if you need your mind regulated, jump in. The river, just jump in. If you need joy, if you need peace, if you need love, just jump in.
Happy Thursday, everybody. I am Pastor Justin. This is Pastor Denisha, and we are here with the deep dive. It's Thursday, so y'all know what y'all have to do. We want y'all to like, we want you to subscribe, and we want you to share. Let somebody know that Bible study is happening right now. Bring them in the room, and we're going to get in on this. We're going to dive deep into this. We went through several months, and we've had a lot of great talks, and we are here with a new one, new month, new month.
So new phone, who this? New month,
new
who
month.
This it's April. I can't even believe it's April already.
Yes.
But I'm so excited because April represents. Generally, we celebrate Easter in April. So this is, the time of spring. It's the resurrection. It's the new birth. And so we're going to have a conversation about that this month. So let's get into our text. We're going to read about 15 verses tonight just for the context of this. But let's get into it. So why don't you start us off, Pastor Justin, with Mark 5.
All right. We're going to be starting at the 21st verse. We're going to be reading from 21 to 37, so that way you guys can get it together. So, all right. Verse 21. Jesus went back to the other side of the lake, in the boat, there are a large crowd of people gathered around him on the shore. A leader of the synagogue came. His name was Jairus. He saw Jesus and bowed down before him. He begged Jesus again and again, saying, "My little daughter is dying. Please come and lay your hand on her. Then she will be healed and will live." Verse 24. So Jesus went with Jairus. Many people followed Jesus, and they were pushing very close around him. 25. There among the people was a woman who had been bleeding for the past 12 years. 26. She had suffered very much. Many doctors had tried to help her, and all of the money she had was spent. But she was not improving. In fact, her sickness was getting worse. Oof, nothing like that, boy. The woman heard about Jesus, so she followed him with the other people and touched his coat. She thought, if I can just touch his coat, that will be enough to heal me. As soon as she touched his coat, her bleeding stopped. She felt that her body was healed from all the suffering. Jesus immediately felt power go out from him, so he stopped and turned around. "Who touched my clothes?" he asked. The followers said to Jesus, "There are so many people pushing against you, but you asked, 'Who touched me?'" But Jesus continued looking for the one who touched him. The woman knew that she was healed, so she came and bowed at Jesus' feet. She was shaking with fear. She told Jesus the whole story. He said to her, "Dear woman, you are made well because you believed. Go in peace. You will not suffer any more." You will not suffer anymore. Ah, glory. 35. While Jesus was still there speaking, some men came from the house of Jairus, the synagogue leader. They said, "Your daughter is dead. There is no need to bother the teacher." But Jesus did not care what the men said. He said to the synagogue leader, "Don't be afraid, just believe." Verse 37. Jesus let only Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, go with him. 38. They went to the synagogue's leader's house, where Jesus saw many people crying loudly. There was a lot of confusion. He entered in the house and said, "Why are you crying? Why are you people crying and making so much noise? The child is not dead. She is only sleeping." You ain't dead. You ain't dead. But everyone laughed at him. Everyone, they laughed at the master. I'm sorry, that thing hits.
That's because it wasn't their masters.
Right.
But we don't stay focused.
See, you starting. Jesus told the people, "Leave the house." Then he went into the room where the child was. He brought the child's father and mother and his 3 followers into the room with him. Then Jesus held the girl's hand and said to her, "Talitha kum." This means, "Little girl, I tell you to stand up." The girl immediately stood up and began walking. She was 12 years old. The father and mother and the followers were amazed. Jesus gave the father and mother very strict orders not to tell people about this. Then he told them to give the girl some food to eat.
So our conversation this month is Girl, Get Up.
Get up.
Now, to give you some context, maybe a year or so ago around Easter or whatever, I saw a meme, I saw a graphic, in 2022. That's part of the way we talk and converse, right? Little video clips, GIFs, GIFs, depending on how you pronounce it, memes, posts, and we communicate with each other and we say these things. And so I saw this graphic. It was like a cartoon almost, something that you would probably use in Vacation Bible School of this story. and you see a little baby, a young lady rather, on the bed, and you see Jesus reaching down.
Mhm.
In the thought bubble, someone had edited, instead of it saying Talitha Kumi,
Yeah.
it said,
Girl, get up. So that was the spawn, or for lack of a better term, or the idea behind Girl Get Up. It's not only relegated to women, just so you know. So it's not like, fellas, we want you to rise too. So fellas, rise, and girls, get up. So we want to give you a little context first, so that way you guys understand.
So yeah, that graphic was just something that was so hilarious, especially being a person of faith and knowing the story and watching just how somebody made it silly, like "Girl, get up," but it spoke to essentially a conversation, right?
Mhm.
So like if I'm talking to my CEO or my boss, I might say, "Good morning, how are you?" To somebody I'm close to, I'm probably gonna say, "What's up?
Right,
What's going on?"
Right.
If I'm talking to a client or someone that I don't have a relationship with, I might say something like, "Have you considered how
Mhm.
this behavior is problematic?"
Right.
To my homie or my friend, I'm like, "You are tripping,
Right.
and you need to stop."
Right.
Now, depending on the level of relationship I have with my client, I still might say it that way too. But it was such an interesting part when I saw that graphic of Jesus saying, "Girl, get up." As Pastor Justin was just saying, this is not relegated to just men or women, rather, but it's for everybody.
Right.
That the Spirit is saying to us, "Get up."
Get up.
Which speaks again to the relationship, the proximity, that the Holy Spirit is saying back to us, it's time to get up.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Jesus rose from the grave,
Right.
it's time for us to get up.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we're going to have a conversation about this month. Girl, get up. Somebody put that in the chat. Say it like you're talking to a friend, your
Put a finger in
homie,
there or
your
something.
cousin, your girl, get up.
Girl, get up.
And it's not to dismiss what we're dealing with,
Not at all, but to encourage.
but to encourage and to remind you who you are.
Right.
Girl, get up.
Mm-hmm. You're stronger than that.
You are stronger than that. Yes, you are facing some
yeah.
issues. Yes, life is happening. Yes, the devil is trying you, but get up. If we was in a space, we'd say, look at three people and tell them, "Girl, get up." So put that in the chat. Get up. Tell yourself, get up. So let's dive into this, right? Jesus in verse 21.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to give you backstory, the whole chapter, this is after Jesus had walked on the water.
Mm-hmm.
This is after the storm was about to capsize the boat of the disciples and they were worried.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus came walking on the water.
Right.
And then they get to the other side where they meet a man who was possessed by demons, who's living in the cemetery, and the Bible says not only was he possessed by demons, the name of the demon was Legion.
Yeah.
Which meant that there were thousands of them. Yeah. Jesus casts out the demon. Mm-hmm. They go into the pigs. The pigs commit suicide because they like, we don't want to. They don't want
the demons either. Yeah.
The man is healed. Mm-hmm. He's no longer naked. He has on clothes now. Right. He has his right mental faculties now. Mm-hmm. And then Jesus gets ready to leave. And I love this so much because the man said, "I'm going with you."
Right.
It's kind of like some Color Purple. Like, I'm going with Suge and Miss Sealy. And Jesus said, "No, stay here with your friends. Mm-hmm. And tell them about the wonderful things God has done for you." So Jesus goes back across the lake. And when he arrives in verse 21 at the other side of the lake, there's a crowd of people there waiting for him. Mm-hmm. And there's a man named Jairus who was in the group. Now, I thought this was really interesting because as I was studying about Jairus, like, who is he, right? Mm-hmm. He's a ruler in the synagogue. Yeah. We know that the Jews really weren't believing that Jesus was Jesus. Right. So I thought that was just interesting that a leader of the synagogue is waiting to get something from Jesus
Right.
among all the other people.
Mm-hmm.
And it said he bowed down and he begged him again and again, please come and lay your hands on my daughter. And he knew then she will be healed.
Yeah.
Right? Now, this story also has with it the woman who had a bleeding issue for 12 years.
Yep.
Now, one of the things I thought was so interesting in this passage was that we don't know either of their names.
Yeah. They were just they were nameless, but it was the situation that was focused.
Yes.
Yeah.
Say more about
Yeah,
that.
they were nameless, but the situation was focused, which to me is very interesting because a lot of times we try to give names to things, and sometimes the name is not what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the situation and what can be done to the situation, in the situation, through the situation. So sometimes you might need to stop giving things names.
Mm-hmm. Now, it's interesting because we know Jairus' name,
Right.
but don't know his daughter's name.
Don't know his daughter's name at all.
Right? And the thing that we want to encourage you all today is to know that God knows your name.
Yes.
Even when people don't know your name,
Mm-hmm.
when history doesn't recount your name,
Right.
but God knows your name.
Yes, it does.
Jairus, who is known, doesn't get a miracle.
Right. A miracle for the unknown. I like that.
Come on, put that
I
in
like
the
that.
chat. A miracle
for the
for the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mhm.
Sometimes
That's good,
we
that's
think
good.
we're missing our moment because nobody's knowing our name.
Mhm.
No one is calling our name. And even when he says Talitha Kumi or little damsel or girl, he doesn't even call her name.
No.
Right? But that also lets us know some of the things we think we need,
right.
we don't need.
That's right.
Because again, you don't have to call my name. Just do it for me.
Right.
Just let it be a part of my life and let it be a
be.
part of my story.
Yes.
And sometimes this also just goes to say that people will overlook you.
Mm-hmm.
But Jesus doesn't, and he's still going to get to you what you need.
Exactly. That's good. He'll get you what you need, and not only will he get, but that blessing, whatever that was, it was still there. It didn't overlook you, even though people did.
Right.
It didn't bypass you because people knocked you out of the way and you thought you were missing something. You didn't miss anything because he still was coming.
Right. And systems being what they were, being what they are, women didn't have as much of a standing.
Right.
Right?
Oh.
So we hear about Jairus, but we don't know about the name of his daughter.
Mhm.
We hear the story about the woman. We don't know what her name is.
Right.
So Jesus is walking. He agrees to go with Jairus, right?
Mhm.
And in verse 32, scroll down for me. In verse 27, the woman is in the crowd. She's following Jesus too. Now, I had to stop and think about this for a moment. And I know you don't relate to this, but to all my ladies listening, 5 days on your cycle
Oh, glory.
is a lot, right? And sometimes if you have different ailments or challenges, it might go a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And we start getting a little concerned, like, okay, it's been about 7 days now. It's been about 8 days. It's been about 14 days. And usually, we'll go to the doctor if it doesn't stop. Because, for one, it's just unbearable.
Yeah.
But can you imagine 12 years?
Could you imagine how much blood that was, though?
Could you just imagine
Like,
how long?
Weeks.
Exactly, right?
Ooh.
To deal with this issue. Now, Jairus doesn't really care about this woman.
Right. He worried about his
Because
daughter.
his situation is so intense,
Mm-hmm.
right? And here comes Jesus.
Right.
Finally, I get an audience with him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have my opportunity to get him to do something for me.
Yes.
And this woman don't care about Jairus.
Right. She been suffering too.
She been suffering, but at the moments their paths are crossing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get more to that woman next week. But as we think about what's happening on the way. So Jesus goes in progress
yeah.
to Jairus' house when he interacts with the woman.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she knew, I love it, she thought, if I can touch his clothes, verse 28,
Yep.
that will be enough to heal me.
Just enough.
So just like we said earlier, you don't have to have a name.
Mm-hmm.
People don't have to know your name, rather,
Right.
to get a healing. She didn't ask for a special audience with Jesus. See, Jairus and Jesus had a conversation.
Right.
From the conversation, Jesus committed to come and do something for him. She said, I don't even need a conversation.
I just need a touch.
I can do the work, right? If I can get to where he is and touch him.
Yes.
See, sometimes we want God to come and do the work for us, right? Sometimes we want God to put the action in for us. And she said, I don't even need you. I'll come behind you and get what I need. Is there anybody who's listening to us who's willing to push through whatever is happening to just get a little bit? You're willing to put the effort into it. God, you don't have to turn around. You don't have to call my name. You don't even have to agree. We don't have to have a conversation. I am committed to walk up and get what I need from you.
To go for it. To go forward. Go forward and go forward. How about that?
And verse 29 says, as soon as she touched his coat, the bleeding stopped. In other translations, it says the hem of his garment. And it says she felt that her body was healed from all the suffering. So she said, I don't need a conversation. I can put the action in. And when I have action, because I know who I'm touching, I know what I'm reaching for. And it said immediately as she touched it, she felt her body was healed.
Right.
But you know who else felt it?
Oh, you know who felt it.
Tell him who felt it.
Jesus felt it. And he knew that there was power because he felt it in the King James. It's virtue. That virtue left him, but he knew who it was, and he automatically asked, "Well, who touched me?" And of course, they're asking because there's a crowd of folks. Well, Jesus really, for real? Like it's like 300 of us out here, and you asking who touched you? Yeah, he said, "Yeah, somebody touched me. I felt that."
And they said there's so many people pushing against you, right? So what does that tell us?
That other people needed something too.
What else does it tell us? That there's a different way
that you can
interact.
Right?
There's a different touch. Just like we were talking about the words, good morning, to girl, what's happening?
Right.
There's a difference in approach. There's a difference in connection. So yeah, there are many people who are around Jesus, but they weren't touching him the same way. So that also begs to challenge us to consider that it wasn't a physical touch. It was a faith touch.
Yeah.
So not only her physical touch, because people were physically touching Jesus all around. But her faith was touching him. Do you have faith that will touch Jesus?
Touch Jesus. Yeah.
Do you have faith that will touch him?
And that'll let him know that something came out.
Right? Different than your physical touch, because a lot of times we do things, even in our communities of faith, we do things that aren't connected with faith, which is why Hebrews 4 tells us that we have to mix the word with faith.
Yes.
Right? He said they heard the same word, but it did not profit them anything because they didn't mix it with faith. Jairus heard, so he said, I'm going to go. The crowd heard, so they said, we're going to go. The woman heard. Only two of them got something out of what they heard because they mixed it with faith. So in verse 31, when he's like, who's touching me? They said, it's a whole bunch of people. He said, no, they're not touching me, touching me.
They ain't get it.
You touching me, but you're not touching me, touching me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then ask yourself, are you touching him, touching him?
Right. Are you really?
I know you here, but are you touching him? Right? Let your faith touch him.
Yeah.
Let your faith move beyond your acts of service, right? Some of us, we give tithes and offerings, but we don't believe God's going to do anything.
We don't give our heart.
So we don't see it. Some of us pray, but we don't believe he's listening. So if we're not going to touch him, you might as well just go ahead and chill out. With the rest of the folks.
With the rest of the crowd.
Because Jesus said, nah, somebody touch me. Now, the one, and I love this. It says in verse 32, but Jesus continued looking for the one who touched him. Jesus is looking for the one who touched him. I promise you, if you keep pushing through, if you keep praying, if you keep mixing your faith with your action, he's going to look for you. And when he looks and identifies you, there's more that's coming to you.
Oh, yes. Put that in the chat. There's more that's coming.
There's more that's coming to you. In verse 33, it said, the woman knew that she was healed.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't wait to go to the doctor.
Right, right.
She didn't wait for the second test result.
Mhm.
She didn't wait for a third opinion.
Right.
She didn't even have time to go check. She knew.
She knew it. She knew it instantly. Yeah.
And then it says she came and bowed at his feet.
Mm-hmm.
She was shaking with fear.
Mm-hmm.
So she bowed.
Right.
She was shaking.
She was shaking. Yeah.
She told Jesus the whole story. Now that's a pause right there. She told Jesus the whole story. Some of us can't get healed because we won't tell the whole story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, as a clinician, part of my job is to diagnose,
Mm-hmm.
right? But one of the things I know is that incomplete disclosure leads to inaccurate diagnoses.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
When people don't tell me the whole story, I can't make a whole decision
Mm-hmm.
and orchestrate a treatment plan.
Right. Right.
Some of us, we haven't gotten things from God yet because we're not giving him the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
Psalms 51 says, you desire truth in the inward parts.
Yeah.
God wants us to be truthful with him.
Mm-hmm.
He knows anyway.
Right. Right. Right.
And when
I
you're
heard
in a
that.
community
Yeah,
of
yeah,
faith,
yeah.
people who love you,
Mm-hmm.
we need to be able to be honest with each other. I'm
Yeah.
struggling. James tells us confess our faults one to another so you can be healed.
So you can be healed.
Right? Confession is the pathway to healing.
Yes. Yes, it is.
So when she tells Jesus the whole story, he said, dear woman. Now, I got to pause here and say this, because this is told in what they call the synoptic gospel. So Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So 3 of the 4 gospels record this story.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the translations actually record this word, dear woman, as the same way he talks to Jairus' daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So even though he tells Jairus' daughter, Talitha Kumi, get up,
Right. Right.
that wasn't the first time he said that in the text.
Right. Right.
Because
Right.
remember, she's bowed down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he says, dear woman, you are made well. He
Mhm.
said to her, girl, get up
Mm-hmm. And go in peace.
and go in peace.
And he told her that she will not suffer anymore. So
Mhm.
even if she had a lapse of judgment at some point, she could rest on the word that the master gave, that the master teacher, the master healer, that he gave, that you will not suffer anymore.
Mhm.
Not just for the week
Mhm.
or for the rest of the month, but anymore. You
Right.
suffered enough.
Right. Girl, get up. Put that in the chat. Girl, get up. You suffered enough. Encourage somebody. Encourage somebody that you know is going through. You have suffered enough. Get up.
Get up.
Right? And now this woman had a medical condition
Right.
that was causing her to bleed.
Mhm.
Some of us, it's not a physical condition.
Mhm.
It's not a medical condition. It's a condition of our heart
Yeah.
where we've been bleeding out stuff.
Mm.
We've been letting stuff suck the life out of us.
Yeah.
We've been letting things, wounds that God wants to heal that are still open.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for us to get up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, the good part about it is she believed that Jesus could help her.
Yeah.
I don't think you're listening to this just because you didn't have nothing else to do on a Thursday night. The devil's not fighting us because you didn't have something else to do.
Right.
We are here because Jesus has a plan for you.
Yes. That's good. That's good.
That's so good.
That's good right there.
That's
man.
good.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. That's good.
So let's journey on in the text, right?
All right. Yeah,
So Jairus, I'm sure, is frustrated by this.
Mhm. Yeah.
I know how I feel when I'm trying to get somewhere
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, follow me, or like we walking through the airport or we
Yeah.
walking through the mall and somebody stops like, come on, we gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
So that's with nothing attached on the other side of it.
Right.
Jairus knows his daughter is sick, and here's Jesus stopping to tend to something, which is another good moment. Even when Jesus is not focused on your issue,
Yeah.
seemingly doesn't mean that you're not going to still get something in the process.
Right.
Jesus was not looking for that woman,
Nope.
but the woman was looking for Jesus, and
Mhm.
Jesus still honored her pursuit.
Right.
God will honor your pursuit.
Ooh, put that
God
in the
will
chat.
honor your pursuit.
So
Even
don't
if it
stop.
doesn't look like he's paying you any attention, he will honor your pursuit.
Yeah.
Don't you stop.
Don't stop. Don't
So
stop.
verse 35, right? This is like if you're thinking about a movie, this is the part of the movie where the plot thickens.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Jairus's
One of
servants,
the servants. Yeah.
you know, they come and find him, which again tells me, just knowing like the way people traveled, they had to have left the house at whatever point to even get to Jairus
Right.
to tell him,
Mm-hmm.
hey, so she had probably already passed away by this point.
Mm-hmm.
They come up to Jairus and say, listen, there's no need to bother the teacher anymore.
Yeah, she did, y'all.
She's gone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they were kind.
Yeah, I'm
They
sure.
probably had some sympathy.
You'd like to hope so.
And Jesus, in verse 36, I love it. It said,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Jesus did not care. He didn't care what they said. Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, if Jesus don't care about the report of the enemy or the report that they're giving, why are you?
Mm-hmm.
I need you to get like I need you to think like Jesus and start remembering that if Jesus doesn't care and he's not going to be wavered and he's not going to stop because of what they're saying, don't you stop.
And he says to Jairus,
Mm-hmm.
don't
Be afraid.
be afraid. Don't be afraid. Can you imagine what Jairus felt when he got the report of his servants that his daughter was dead? I'm sure he felt much like Mary and Martha when they said, Jesus, if you had been here, our brother wouldn't have died.
Right.
And Jesus, if you had stopped to deal with that woman,
My daughter.
we might have got there sooner.
Right.
And he says, don't be afraid. Just believe.
Just believe.
And so when they get to the house, now again, when Jesus says don't be afraid, that doesn't mean fear goes.
Right.
That means you have to make a choice. Because he tells you what to do. He says just believe.
Just believe. That's
Don't
it.
be afraid. Just believe.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. Just believe. Don't be afraid. How am I stop being afraid? Believe.
Right. Right. He gave
How
you
do
the
I
answer.
get fear to go away? Believe.
Yeah.
I'm scared. I know. Believe.
Right. It's okay. Believe.
I heard it.
Right.
I know. Believe.
Yep.
They said it. Believe. They're threatening. Believe.
Yeah.
He said, don't be afraid. Just believe.
Just believe. I like that.
Now, here's the thing. Sometimes we give up too soon.
Yeah.
And Jesus reminds us here in this moment, I know what they're saying. Don't you give up. We ain't even got to the daughter yet. We just dealing with Jairus still.
Right.
Jairus, you got to keep believing. Right? You might not be the one that's going to get the direct miracle. You might be a proxy recipient, but you can't stop believing.
You can't stop.
And the people had already given up.
When
They said, don't even bother them.
Right.
Let it go. We ain't really know if this thing was going to work anyway.
Right.
We only was halfway kind of seeing was it going to work. Leave him alone. But Jesus said, don't stop believing. Don't stop believing. Now, this is where it gets good. In verse 37, it says, Jesus only let Peter, James, and John go with him. What do you think that's about?
Because he knew. He knew the folks that believed. He knew the folks that were like-minded. He knew the folks that were going to follow him. Oh, yeah. He knew. He
knew how to draw some boundaries. He knew how to make some dividing lines, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to say it in the negative way that we often say about cutting people off, but he knew where to draw the line around who can go past this point.
Yeah, that's good. That's good because everybody can't go where you're going.
Now, you see Jesus reconnects with those people later.
Right. But in that instance, it was a necessity that he only took. So, and think about it like this: how much weight, extra weight it would be. So he packed light and brought only what he needed with him.
He didn't cut him out.
Right.
He just said, "Hold on,
I'm gonna put
Y'all
you. I'm
stay
gonna put you over
here.
here for right now. Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's important for us in this season to
Mhm.
know who can go with us into our next places.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we're done with them forever.
Right.
Doesn't mean they're terrible people.
No.
It just means for right now,
Mhm.
you got to go over here.
Yeah.
So they get to Jairus' house, right?
Mhm.
Now, there are people who are there. In one translation, it says there are people who were there making music. Basically, like the funeral people, the people who going to come and give you a sad playlist to help you grieve. And then it was cultural that when people were, they call it sitting Shiva,
Yeah.
where people come and sit with you in your mourning.
Good morning.
And so Jesus says to them, why y'all crying? What's the challenge? Turn the lights on. Lift these blinds up. Why you already in this place of mourning?
Mm-hmm.
She's not dead. She's only sleeping. But everyone laughed at him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing that we need to understand about this. Is that God doesn't see your issue the same way you do.
That's right.
Somebody put that in the chat. God does not see my issue the same way I do.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I call it dead.
Right.
God calls it asleep.
Ooh, that's good. Don't stay there.
And the sad part is often we don't say what God says about it.
Ooh.
We call it what we see
Mm-hmm.
instead of calling it what God says.
Mm-hmm.
So when God said, or Jesus said, she's not dead, she's asleep, they laughed. Well, again, they laughed because they didn't believe.
Yeah, that's
When
where I
you-
was stuck before.
Yeah.
Because I was stuck at that before because I'm like, if they knew, do they really know who they laughed at?
And they didn't, which is why they laughed.
Obviously we sitting on this side
Mhm.
of the world, but I'm like, you just laughed at the king.
Right. And since they don't know who Jesus is,
Yeah.
right, they laughed. But Jesus did not let that sway him.
Sure didn't.
And I just want to encourage people who are listening. People might be laughing at your faith. They might be laughing at your pursuit. They might be laughing at your declaration. They just don't know who you are.
Right. They don't know who you are.
Notice I didn't say they don't know who God is.
Right. They don't know who you are.
They don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Because remember we talked in the other classes that the greater one lives in you.
Yeah.
We are of God,
Mm-hmm.
right? 1 John 4. So they're going to laugh at you because they don't know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And they definitely don't know that God is in you.
Yeah.
So it says everybody laughed at him.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus told the people, get out.
Right.
So here you go making another separation. Jesus was that dude.
Listen.
He already told people you can't go, only took 3 with him.
Mm-hmm.
How you go to somebody else's house and put folk out?
But that goes to show that he knew who he needed
Mm-hmm.
in the situation in order for it to work. Now,
Mhm.
and that's something I think we need to realize, and I want you to be encouraged about that. To know you might have to clean that house.
Yep.
You might have to do a clean sweep and say, "Oh, you know what? Now is not the time. I need to be separated."
Mhm.
And again, it's not that it's love lost necessarily. It's not that you're getting rid of them for good. It's that you don't fit in the situation right now.
Mhm.
And I need those who are, as we said earlier, like-minded. We need those people who are of like faith,
Mhm.
who want and desire the same things we want and desire
Mhm.
to partner up with me.
Now again, Jesus has all authority. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
But it wasn't his house,
Right.
and you don't see where Jairus said, "Oh well, wait, hold on,
Right.
that's my mama.
No.
Oh, hold on, that's my cousin and them."
No, he didn't.
Jairus said, "Whatever he say,
Do it.
that's what we got to do." And there's going to be some things that you're going to have to agree with God about in this season.
Right.
Don't get upset when God start making cuts and changes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get upset when God start, especially if you want the miracle that he has for you.
Right.
You're going to have to agree with God. Call it what he called it and let him do what he's going to do,
Mm-hmm.
including moving people out of the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it said he brought the child's father and the mother. This is verse 40. He brought the child's father and mother and his 3 followers into the room with him.
Mm-hmm.
Then Jesus held the girl's hand and said to her, "Girl, get up."
That's what he said. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Don't think it's sacrilegious, but
Not at all. Not at all.
he said, "Girl, get up,"
Mm-hmm.
because I know what your real condition is.
Right. Right.
I know what the situation may seem,
Mm-hmm.
but I know what your real situation is.
Right. Right.
Somebody needs to know tonight, God knows what the situation looks like,
Mm-hmm.
but he knows what your real condition is.
Yes.
And he says to you, "Girl, get up.
Get up. Get up.
Get up. You've been down here too long. Get up.
Mm-hmm.
You've been asleep too long. Get up. You've been bound too long. Get up.
Yeah.
You've been letting us have too much victory over too long. Get up. You've been crying about this too long. Get up. You've been scared too long. Get up."
If you don't know by now, you should be putting this in the chat to get up.
And so verse 42 says the girl immediately stood up
Yes.
and began walking.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. She was 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
How long was the woman bleeding for?
12 years.
And how old was this girl?
12 years old.
So this child was born when the other woman's issue started.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they both got the same blessing the same day.
Same day. Consecutive blessings.
So sometimes you're looking at something that you've been dealing with and you're watching somebody else get something and you're wondering why it's taking you so long. That same route that Jesus had to take was to get the thing that had started and the thing that just happened.
Right.
She just died. She been dealing with this.
Mm-hmm.
God has the power and the ability to synchronize everything.
Yeah.
A lot of times we want to know why something's not happening. Jairus might have been like, "Why did my daughter have to die today?"
Mm-hmm.
Well, because that's when the woman was going to be in the crowd who had something that started 12 years before.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it came to your house today, but it started in somebody else's house a time ago. And God knew both
Mm-hmm.
and had both of them worked out.
Yeah.
And in the same day, says to both of them, "Girl, get up.
Get up.
You won't suffer anymore."
Mm-hmm.
And then he says to them, "Give her something to eat
Right. Give her nourishment.
because she got some stuff to do." Now, in the next conversation, we'll talk more about 12 and what that means and even just that age for Jewish boys and girls. But 12 is significant here.
Mm-hmm.
In some spaces, they talk about the number of government, right? Jesus had 12 disciples. There were 12 tribes of Israel, right? God didn't, it's not lost on me that the woman was bleeding for 12 years and this child was 12 years old.
Right.
What God is doing in you is a thing of establishment.
Mm-hmm.
God is, when he said to the woman, "You won't suffer anymore," he was establishing a new reality for her.
Yes, a newness.
When he said to the mother and father, "Give her something to eat," she's got some things to do. He's establishing. At 12, you're not dying.
Right.
You're not out of here. You got some stuff to do. So even as we bring this conversation to a close tonight, we say to you, you have some things to do. So get up.
Get up.
Jesus got up so we can get up.
So we can get up.
Jesus got up, the Bible says, with all power in his hands.
Yeah.
And then the Bible says the same spirit that raised Jesus or made him alive or quickened his body
Quicken his body. Yeah.
is going to raise you. It has raised you. It quickens and it makes us alive. So if you are sleeping, it's time to get up. The Bible says, "Awake unto righteousness." The Bible tells us to arise. And we're going to go through this in these next couple of weeks. But we want you to know this month, we're getting up. Because we got some other stuff to do. In May, we're going to manifest. In June, we're launching into the deep.
Right.
But in April, we're getting up.
We're getting up.
We're not staying asleep. We're not playing dead.
Nope.
We're not being mad anymore. We're getting up.
We're getting up.
Put that in the chat. I'm getting up.
Getting up.
You got any last thoughts before we wrap up this conversation.
Just real quick, there was something I want to go back on.
Okay.
Real quick, that he gave them strict orders not
Oh
to tell
yeah,
anybody.
yeah.
And I think what I want to let you guys know is you don't have to tell anybody after he does it
Mm-hmm.
because he's going to get the glory anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to see the manifestations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So follow his strict instructions.
Mm-hmm. You know, I was thinking about that. I'm glad you brought that out because I forgot about that part. Like, why did there were so many times and so many miracles that Jesus performed
Mm-hmm.
that he told them not to tell anybody, right? And that ain't never worked,
No, it didn't.
right? And I can't really say I'm mad at him. Now, here's what we do know.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to tell anybody, like you said,
Right, they
right?
didn't have to.
Because he put hundreds of people out.
Right. People.
The crowd had already been following him. So just because they wasn't in the bedroom,
Mm-hmm.
just because they wasn't in the house,
They knew who did it.
they didn't say they all went home
Right.
and forgot about it. Y'all know how y'all do. We keep watching the story, keep looking at the hashtags to see if it's trending, keep checking Twitter, social media, whatever to see what the latest is.
Yeah.
You think they just went home?
Oh no.
Think, hey, is the girl still alive? We told you. Oh, wait, she did what?
What? They said she
That's
was
her.
dead. Mm-hmm. And she walking around
They know who did it.
eating biscuits. Like walk around eating biscuits, getting nourishment for her britches. Yeah.
So even what God is going to do for you, you're not going to have to post about it.
That's right.
You're not going to have to go live about it.
Mm-hmm.
But God is going to get the glory
Right.
in what he's doing when you get up.
And he said he is setting center stage for you because when they don't even when you just look at the scene, he set it up that way so that they could see it.
Mm-hmm.
Because every time she walks out that house, every time they see her, they're
Yeah.
going to see the
Yeah.
walking miracle
Yeah.
that she is.
Yeah. Yep.
Every time you go, they are going to see the walking miracle that you are.
Every time when you get up.
Every
Come on.
time. When you get up,
Yep.
they're going to see the walking miracle
Yep.
that you are.
They saw you fall.
Yes.
They saw you get cast down.
Mm-hmm.
They saw you get knocked down.
Uh-huh.
But when you get up,
Yeah.
they're going to see you standing.
They're going to see you.
They're going to see you winning.
They're going to see you.
They're going to see you thriving.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to see you walking in
They're
purpose
going to see you.
when you get up.
Ah.
So one last time for the night, girl, get up.
Get up. Mm.
I love that. It's like a
Yes.
knowing in that. Like, girl, get up.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
And we're not making light of the serious
No,
situations.
no.
But we're shining light on the power of God. Get up. Girl, get up.
That's it.
Brother, get up.
Get up.
Sis, get up.
Get up.
My dude, get up.
Ah. Get up.
Mm-hmm.
Get up.
So stay tuned for
Yes.
this month because we're going to talk about living a resurrected life.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about getting up.
All right. So meet us here next week. Also, on April the 24th, we are so excited that we are going to be in person for The Wave. It's going to be our first in-person worship experience, weekly anointed
Victory
experiences. Yes.
Starting the 24th, 6 p.m. It's going to be every Sunday. Starting April 24th.
Yes.
Make plans to attend if you're in the Capital District
Yeah.
area or close enough that you want to come up and be with us. We'll be at 508 State Street in Schenectady.
New York.
Come to the website if you have any questions. Don't forget you can reach us
Reach out to us.
at any of the mediums on social media.
Mhm.
Also, we have prayer every Saturday.
Every Saturday.
8 a.m. We are calling out your names. We are calling out your prayer requests. We are seeking the Lord on your behalf
Yes.
as well as the world. And so join us in prayer Saturdays at 8
Yes.
and see you next
See you next
Thursday.
Thursday.
We love you all.
Yes, we love y'all. Peace.